this looks like one of those things where it's sort of like you really can't say he is ineligible because what's going to happen to the country. But so these are some of the practical aspects of research. There are other elements of research why research is undertaken. So, for example, thinking about income inequality. What does income inequality do for people? How do government policies affect people? What are the consequences of economic inequality? Do they threaten democracy? If people are poor, what does that mean for democracy? But also, if you think about politics, the whole essence of politics is about who gets what, when, how, where, and what kinds of bargains citizens make. So politics is about really the division of resources, and so how we divide resources is really important. One of the things that really gets me about this American Republic is the idea of, for example, that education is the great equalizer. But if you do not have the same kinds of funding for all schools, how can it be the great equalizer? I suspect that people who have kids and live in the Hamptons probably take their kids to private school in Switzerland. But you can imagine if there was like a public school there, how much resources it would have. Not even just the Hamptons. Think about, for example, this region, if you're familiar with the schools around here. The one across the street. Anyone ever visit that school? Anyone from there? No. So compare it with, for example, Torwood High School. Might be in Virginia Beach or somewhere in Yorktown. Not sure about the high school. So if you think about the resource deficiency, if you think about the relative budgets, there will be some kids who have more. And sometimes you can actually see this even in sports. Like some of the schools that go to the state sports championships, they can tell you who has the money. And so can we say that education in this country makes people equal? I do not think that it does. Now, I would encourage you not to write everything down because I'm going to post these slides. If I say something that is mind-blowing, absolutely, but I do post the slides. So research on inequality, and this is done in not just the US, in Western democracies, the question of what makes a country more robust. And so these are examples of types of research that people do with these kinds of empirical research. The all-important question of who votes and who does not. Why do people vote and why they do not? Over time, we have seen certain trends. Young people don't vote. So when I become president, my first bill will be to raise the voting age to 25. Young people don't vote. So, why? Now, having said that, maybe if the drinking age was 18, I mean, young people would vote while drunk.
Do you think we would vote more if we were able to drink at
I think so.
age?
Mm-hmm.
So you saying
that
we vote when you're drunk?
What that mean?
I mean, we're trying to, if I said, I'm going to lower the drinking age to 18 if young people vote. Do you not see how they would?
Okay, but then what happened to the young people that don't drink? They don't care about you.
And then what
What young people don't drink?
Buy bottles at 18 now.
Huh?
Whole new depressed era of children.
I'm saying. So we gonna make all these
At 18? I mean, it's not like they don't drink.
We gonna make all these Gen Z's alcoholic.
They're
idiot
using
age.
alcohol at 21.
Well done. That
Y'all just.
I don't like being Gen Z. I'm like somewhere in the middle. I'm like Tigger Tatter.
I'm saying Gen Z.
I am in the
Let's
middle.
clarify that.
You gonna make Gen Z a bunch of alcoholics?
no. I think they already are.
You're a millennial.
I'm a millennial.
I feel like I'm in the middle. Like I just feel like
How old are you?
You're not 30, though.
I'm not 30, but
How old are you?
I'm 24.
You're not
a
a
millennial.
Bro,
millennial.
I feel like I am. Like everybody in the house. I did not grow up
I'm
with
a
nobody
millennial.
their age. I grew up with everybody, all my siblings, 95,
I'm gonna be 30 this
92,
year.
89. I grew up in a house. I don't know. I'm just not. I did not grow up around
You're a
that.
millennial by association.
Millennial. I feel like I was
But
born
you
in
was born.
2000.
When she was born.
I was born in 2000 on the
Oh
cusp.
no.
Yes.
Gen Z.
No, I grew up in a house of millennials. My brother was born in 92. My sister was born in 95. My other big brother was born in 89. I was raised with millennials. I don't care. I'm considering myself
I
like.
think you should say your soul is millennial.
Yeah.
Your years are. But you see what I'm trying to do, and this would be the argument. I'm not even making the argument that if you that you should be able to.
You are making the argument.
No, I'm making the argument that if you can be drafted into the military
Okay.
at 18,
You might got me there.
you should be able to, like, if you're going to die for your country, at least be able to drink.
You got me there. You got me.
But see, what I'm trying to do is to get millennials to,
So you
Gen
think
Z
that's
to
like an
vote.
incentive to vote?
Yeah. I think
Isn't everything an incentive?
I'm saying, but
Yeah.
okay, you could call that an incentive, but then what about the young
It's so
people that don't
toxic.
drink?
that says a lot
There's
about
like
their
5
character.
people that don't drink.
I'm saying, but like, I don't drink, right? So
So there's another 4. But I still got you with the argument of if you can be drafted to fight for your country.
Okay.
So you see, I have a bunch of.
You got that one. You got it.
Other factors to why people don't vote,
Like
like
what?
besides age, like even though like yeah, you
People
say
don't
young people
believe in
don't
the
vote,
system.
but like why is it that they don't vote? Where are they from?
The system is crooked.
What's it called? Redlining, and then they make like all these crazy rules for you to be able to vote. So they don't. Like you
Mr.
have
Magwood.
to have a certain type of ID. You have to have this and that. So it's like
Yeah, but you can't just let
On top of
anybody
what she
vote.
said, do you feel like all votes matter?
Yes. You know why?
Why?
I feel
Florida,
I
Florida,
want to hear what he has to say.
Florida, 2000. Do you know who was on the ballot? George W. Bush. Now you should know because you're a millennial. And Al Gore.
Al Gore?
Yes.
You're joking.
The guy who is, he missed the presidency by 537 votes.
Al Gore?
537 votes.
This guy is
Him.
Again, just story.
He was Clinton's vice president.
Al Gore. I've seen him on South Park before.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can say that they don't. Now, votes in maybe Mississippi, no, if they matter. But in Virginia, for example, if you look at this year, votes in Virginia will matter because, or in Georgia, or in Wisconsin, or in, so I think they do, yeah.
I personally, I feel like there should be a maximum age to, like not just a minimum, there should be a maximum. Like once you get a certain age, nah. Because once you,
So names the ideas be a little outdated. The
because
mindset.
it's like old people, it's like they're like stuck in their ways. Like okay, maybe I'm generalizing. Most old people, let me say that, from my experience, like they're just stuck in the past, and it's like you can't adapt, you can't move forward with society. You don't need to be making decisions that aren't gonna affect you.
You see why young people should vote.
I mean,
Let me give
yeah,
you an example. John Kerry.
because an 80-year-old deciding my future, and
Mhm. So you see my other argument why
Just
people
killed
should.
a bunch of 80-year-olds off.
No. But this is.
in terms of voting, do you think an 80-year-old
I mean-
should be making your choices of just how your life is
That
gonna go
same
on the laws?
80-year-old who was like a teenager during Jim Crow.
Y'all are
Like,
Exactly.
I mean, Jim Crow was.
Jim
But so this is actually the reason why this is the incentive for young people to vote. And when they think votes don't matter, then you're leaving that 80-year-old to make the decisions for you.
That's what I'm saying.
John Kerry is the climate czar for the United States. He's probably 80 something. he is flying jets to Switzerland to talk about climate, which I think is very unhealthy for the climate. But if there's no Greta Thunberg, who is 21 maybe now, who is actually agitating for, and not just, also voting, because it's great to go to a march, but marching doesn't help. It helps you see people, but it's the votes that actually count. And if you actually think about the votes that count, it's not even for the presidency, it's for the local elections. Most people are going to run into the local sheriff or the district attorney in their area before they run into the feds. But see, this is what people, but yeah, 80-year-olds are making the decisions, especially since they have nothing to do.
I'm just here to play devil's advocate. So, like, if an 18-year-old is educated on the voting system and they're privy to, let's say, the 2016 election where Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, the Electoral College, Trump won, so he won the whole thing.
Yeah.
How do you motivate them to be like, even if you do go vote for the right person, the Electoral College can still be like, nah.
Yes, but the way you motivate them is you tell them.
Your representatives, who you vote for your
But also 2020 is an example of a flip in that, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, Obama probably got the highest share of the vote as a percentage, and people voted for Obama for a number of reasons. One, to be part of history. Hillary too, but for Hillary, a lot of people said, "Oh well, she's got this. Nobody's going to vote for Trump." And then, so if maybe, in fact, if you look at the margins, like in Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona, like it's 10,000 votes. It's not like a runaway. So imagine if another 15,000 people in Mississippi had voted for Hillary, or another. And so I've never believed that, unless you're in Russia, where Stalin said it doesn't matter who votes, what matters is who counts the votes. I think voting, now, young people, why do they not vote? There's many reasons that have been given. For example, they are too busy, they need voter ID, but you don't want Canadians coming in to vote, do you?
No.
So voter ID is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, younger people may
Felons
not.
can't vote either, can't they?
Huh?
Felons can't vote.
Some places they cannot. In Virginia, there was a restoration of, and again, for example, the Virginia General Assembly, which was led by Republicans, then was like, you can't restore voting rights to everyone. Now, part of me is like, if I owe you $15 and I pay you back, can you come and demand that I pay you again?
No.
If I've paid my debt to society, why am I still paying another debt? So there's consequences to these decisions. And so some people spend their time thinking about who votes, what causes people to vote. For example, if you vote, is it because of the influence of the household you grew up in, of your parents, of the church you attend, or of the political science department, which might have some voter registration on campus? Like, what are those things that make you vote? Now, I heard this during COVID. I was distressed that young people did not vote because, like the expanded absentee voting ballots and so on. So I heard that young voters were having anxiety going to the post office to drop off a ballot. And I was like, they have what? Like, how do you have anxiety going to the post office and you're on TikTok all day? Not criticizing, just saying that it's the post office. You just drop off a ballot. Like literally, so there's many reasons, including, for example, if they're in college, if it's not like a public holiday and you're working. And so, for example, Virginia made voting public holiday. So you sort of see some of these changes in the way they can help. Now, if you think about the broader, maybe non-college students, if you have a child and it's not a public holiday, what are you going to do with that child? Or if you're working?
To go vote?
Yeah.
You gotta bring the kid along.
I mean, you have to, if you don't have, if you're working, say fast food, or if you don't have childcare, or if childcare is organized in a different way.
Are we assuming that this
Family.
is like lower class, middle class?
You said what you gonna do with the child? If you don't got childcare, go with the family. If you don't got family,
To
the child
vote?
go to work. Oh, child go with you.
I'm saying, just,
Yeah.
you got the little strap, you got the strap up there. Just bring the kid.
Yeah, but that's a hardship. Let me tell you something about that is
Can't be having kids.
strange about this country. Where I come from, voting day is a public holiday. So nobody is working. So you have your child with you. You can go to there, and you can take some water and some food to people in line. Unlike Georgia, you can hold the line for people.
I like how you keep throwing shots at Georgia.
No. This is what Kemp did.
Okay.
Yeah, like I want you
I don't like
to
him either.
this. Oh, so you do know that's what he
Yeah,
did.
I don't like him, but it's okay.
This is why you should vote. I know you
I
vote.
but I'm saying like I understand like why some people don't vote.
Mhm.
Also, I mean it's not right, but like if you're like in a real bad poverty situation,
Yes. Yeah.
and you don't really like some people look at it like, what is voting going to do to help me?
But also, and unfortunately, government programs that might help such individuals. But again, I don't want to keep picking on Georgia, but Georgia actually closed some voting
Exactly.
polling
It's
stations
terrible. You need to get out.
where people go to get voter ID. Now, if you tell me to go to Richmond to get my voter ID, and I have no car,
That was my point earlier, because they make it harder for people.
so making it harder so that people don't vote, so that the people so that is sort of like stealing the election. That is more.
Kemp kind of made like people like that live in Atlanta go to Macon to get their voter ID, which is like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just like.
And if you're using the bus and then you go over there and you're like,
And then the
you
buses
need
don't
another
run,
bill.
though, like, the buses
Why
run.
they don't mail the voter IDs like in Virginia?
Well,
Because it's like, okay, you're then assuming that everyone has the education of voting to be like, okay, instead of going here, like I think we're speaking from a very privileged situation because a lot of people aren't blessed with the education of how essential it is to vote and how easy it is to vote. So it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of people who just look at voting like, bro, like this isn't gonna help me tomorrow.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're not really worried about it, which I understand, but it's like you gotta help try to educate people.
Yeah, but then you end up with Mr. I won't call his name. So other research that is important is, for example, the gender pay gap. You all know that most women make less than men. Most African American men make less than white men. So again, when we do research, we can begin to put in policies, although I don't know if they've worked. This a law called the Lilly Ledbetter Equal Pay Act that was passed in 2009. Actually, it was the first legislation that Obama signed. And the theory was that it was supposed to equal out pay. So if you're doing the same job, you get paid the same amount of money. But apparently we don't do that. Now, there's other research that, for example, asks, does increasing the number of women legislators produce better outcomes for society? So do you have better legislation? Do you have better laws? Do you think there's better laws if you increase the number of women legislators? No? No?
Look at Nikki Haley.
I mean, the question is where? Is it the United States or around the world?
Yeah,
Now,
people like Marjorie
if-
Taylor Greene and stuff, like,
No, not that, not her. Maybe it does not. But so there is evidence that it might. If you look at the legislation that, for example, the Iowa senator has sponsored, anyone know who the Iowa senator is? the one who worked on a pig farm, doing terrible things to pigs. Johnny Ernst, no. Charles Grassley is like 91. The other senator, Johnny Ernst. So she has sponsored very interesting legislation that is more focused on like family leave and other things. But if you look at individual legislators, it may not make a difference. But if you look at countries, like the Nordic countries, lead in the number of women legislators. And so they have better social policies. But the question is it because they have more women legislators, or is it because that is what society is and they are more like social democrats? So they are more focused on not just work.
I think it's a social democrats thing. I think like in America, like we just need to get over the whole. I mean, okay, family values is very important and traditional values and all that, but like it feels like these states be just. They elect people that like grew up on farms and stuff like that just because they grew up on farms and picked haystack and I'm sorry, but yeah, it's just I don't like it. Bro. Like they picked some dumb people because they had country background and stuff like that.
Country is wonderful, I think. Maybe grew up in the country, until my country was so country, but so. And I think it's more the politics, like the social democrats, and the belief that people are equal and they deserve a chance, that a more equal society is a better society, than you have these people with like obscene amounts of money, but it's a whole system. For example, if you think about the social capitalism in Germany, a lot of companies are co-owned by employees. So you're going to pay yourselves well, you're going to have dividends, but also the country with the highest number of women in a legislature is Rwanda.
Rwanda?
Yeah.
That's actually very true.
Only because they killed most of the men, I
That's
think.
what I was saying. I was gonna ask you this due to Rwanda.
I have always wondered about that. Actually, I should look at the population of Rwanda
Who
to
kills
see.
most of those men? The women?
No, the other men.
Oh.
The whole genocide thing that went on. So that is my suspicion, even though I have no evidence that is necessarily true. But so Rwanda is not necessarily a beacon of, like equal rights and those kinds of things. So, but again, obviously in research, you have outliers. You have this one country that is just different. But so there are these kinds of questions that we need to engage in. And this is actually research that can, so Kenya engaged with this question and thought we need more representation of women. So they created a special seat that only women can run. Yeah. It's called County Women Representatives. So think about the 50 states. If each state had a seat for which only a woman could run, and then they would go to Congress.
Do we?
Could you imagine?
Hmm?
I think the country would break out to war.
No, we did not. Now,
This country would break out to war.
yeah.
Another thing that I was thinking is, could we necessarily look at that as something that is bringing women in with equality or equity, a special seat for just women, and we're making what decisions? You know what I mean? Just these certain, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you make the point that men were voting for 300 and something years before women could vote.
I think it's kind of like disrespectful to women. Like
My whole thing is like you know who Usain Bolt is, right? Used to be a
Oh yeah, you're saying
yeah. So you cannot tell me that you are in a race with Usain Bolt, 400 meters, and he's at 300 meters, and you're going to race him. Like that, to me, that is what equality sometimes looks like. But I don't. But the point is that we do research that can be important, impactful. We think about gender in politics. Would this country I don't know if it would. This country is interesting because some things it will address and some things it will not. For example, prohibition. There was an amendment for prohibition, and then it was repealed. But this country will not discuss gun violence. And every time it's like, oh, it's mental health. It's if you didn't give people access to guns. Anyway, I am not even going there. But so we have to think about. So there's no clear, for example, the data on women. There's no clear positive data showing that having more women in a legislature will necessarily improve legislation or outcomes for women. And so it might be just, if you sort of look at the Nordic countries, they have more of cultural belief in equality in the politics of like the Social Democrats. But so, again, I mentioned the Supreme Court. So thinking about how the Supreme Court, now this I think is from 2020 last year when Roe v. Wade was overturned by a bunch of men and like 3-4 women. I don't think that it's men's place to tell women what to do with their bodies. But this country has decided that that's what it's going to do. So if you think about Roe v. Wade, 1973, that was like all 9 men. And you're like, why? Why? So sort of thinking about, now, issues like campaign advertising. I don't know if you've ever looked at campaign advertisements. They are fascinating sometimes and horrible other times. There's a few years ago, there was an advertisement. Actually, it was in Virginia elections, and the one candidate was accusing the other one of throwing cats out of a window. And so if they were elected, they would do that to like old people. That is very persuasive. I mean, I wouldn't vote for someone who is throwing cats out of a window.
Was there footage?
Huh?
Was there footage?
I mean, it's a cat just popping out of a window, and then you see the guy.
Oh.
It's not him. It's, how you can manipulate media. So, but think about what that does. Think about what advertising should be allowed. Should you be allowed to claim that people are throwing? Like if you look at advertisements, you probably don't remember one in which maybe, I don't know who was accused of planning to throw old people off cliffs, healthcare. Yeah? And then old people are like, don't throw us off cliffs. I mean, they were making the point that older people, Medicare would be, but imagery. And so you're like, I could not vote for that person. Johnny Ernst had an advertisement, and I hope you look this up sometime, not right now, where so when she was running for office, she was making the point that she is tough. She grew up on a pig farm and spent a lot of time castrating pigs.
See what I'm talking about? Did she get elected?
Yeah. She's the, yeah.
What has she done?
Hmm?
What has she done since she's done?
What has she done? She's the senator from Iowa. So I mean, you are making the point that you're tough and you're going to, I think she was running during Obama's time. So you put things together in your mind and you're like, what? Is no.
Have you seen Biden's campaign video?
Well, the one,
For
this one that is going around about, well, actually maybe that was Trump.
It was
About the
about
what?
Trump. Basically, in the video, he was saying that people need to vote for him so that they don't vote for Trump. I swear, verbatim.
Yeah, didn't
That's
he say,
simple.
didn't he talking about like if you not black, you feel vote for white?
Yeah, he did say that. But there's another one by the Trump campaign about White House as a senior care center, and where they put stuff in front of Biden and
They are old as hell. When can we stop? Like, when can we get some like 40-year-olds?
There should be a cap for sure.
I'm saying, like,
when are we going to vote?
These are some old ass.
But also, why aren't 40-year-olds running?
Because it's so, bro. Like, okay, I would hate being the president because anything I've ever done bad in my life is going to come on CNN.
So maybe don't do bad things
No, but I'm saying like regular bad things. Okay, let me stop.
like this
Regular
regular bad
black
thing.
is crazy. But you know what's crazy? How is it so easy for like the white men, like for their bad activity to be concealed so well?
Because
As soon as a black person get in there and they do anything, it's just like, we got you.
But you
Here
know,
you go.
you know
It's
what?
like,
You know what Trump did? Now you can be like the baddest person in this
saying.
rally.
killing
You just
political
gotta have like a crazy demographic to be like, bro, we don't really care about that type stuff. So you could go like,
But you don't know until you run.
I'm not doing it. Like I'm not gonna sacrifice my morality.
I guess it's better to be filthy rich and then start with the BS.
I'm saying.
I don't
but
think Obama ever saw $500 million until he
I'm
ran.
talking
I
about
ain't got
Trump.
money though. I don't know. Check.
Mom came from money. His mother was a C. That's before.
I'm saying, bro. Obama had bread, bro. He's like,
Yeah, but the man was broke. He didn't have any money.
broke. Okay, broke is relative. We talking about broke. He went
Obama?
He went to Harvard though.
How did he end
He went on scholarships.
How did he end up on the south side of Chicago? I don't know this.
Hey, he from Hawaii though.
How he end up on the south side of
He's
Chicago?
sweet, bro. He from Hawaii, bro.
I mean,
Sweet, crazy.
but he wasn't like rich, like billions
Yeah,
rich.
I know.
He was middleweight.
He was middle class.
Yeah. So like 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 salary.
That's more than a lot of Americans.
No.
Well, yes, but
Growing up on $30,000 salary.
but most American
Way,
presidents, and not just presidents,
bro. Don't put that.
Congress,
Don't put that smut on my boy.
most of them are millionaires.
No,
Millionaires. The only person who probably wasn't a millionaire was that guy from Florida and AOC.
DeSantis?
No. These are 25-year-old from Florida in Congress.
He's not is he in Congress anymore? 'Cause they just-
Yeah, he is in Congress. Not Santos.
It's not that great.
These are 25-year-old. I think I forget his name, but
like the bitch was
Yeah.
living
yeah. So
They paid their way into Congress?
so there's that question.
Okay, just make it.
But see, if I was 21, I would run.
For what?
You have to have some type of connection.
You can't.
You don't.
You can't run for president until
You
you're
can't tell me that.
Not for
nepotism
president,
does not
for
play a
Congress.
role in that. In
I
that
would. I
situation
do want to
for
run
that
for
young man.
Congress.
I would
For
run
any of those.
as soon as I'm 21.
They're gonna air it out, but like,
And then I would say these things about old people. You see what Nikki Haley is
no,
saying?
you are saying some crazy stuff
No,
about
I
old
didn't.
people.
Listen, I didn't say they gotta die. I just said they don't.
She
I
basically
get
said
what
she
you were
was.
saying.
You get what I'm saying? Like she's
I hear you.
like.
Oh no, I agree. I wouldn't
She
want.
said old people don't deserve voting.
No.
Well,
Well-
not because I don't want an old person deciding my future. It's not gonna affect them.
Old person.
They're
Old
gonna
person.
die.
That's not going to affect. I don't want someone deciding the future for me that's not even going to affect them.
They're literally
I
gonna
really
die.
feel like
You're
that's
telling me I
that
can't
was
get
a
an abortion?
mouthful in that.
So that is my whole point.
The future's not even going to affect you.
That is my whole point. Vote.
Oh.
If you don't, now remember these people have nothing to do other than sit and watch TV, not even cable.
Old people.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like they're retired. If you are
These sluts
They're
on
not
these
even
old
reading
people.
articles.
no. I'm just saying, if you're 75,
Stop him from going to office.
I'm saying you gotta
That's
stop
what
a
I'm
lot of
saying
people.
that too.
if you're 75, right?
We have a 75-year-old president. Like that's kind of.
That's like the one guy.
That's
GBM.
They're
all
trying to say,
all
they're trying to
of them.
raise the retirement age to, that doesn't even make sense. How are you trying to raise the retirement age to 70, but you have a 75-year-old president? There should be a cap.
There's like back-to-back
Why is it no
75-year-old president stuff. That nigga is like wrinkly. It's not
You
even-
know, we live in America.
It's not even like a cool like 75. It's not
It's
like
the
it's not like a Morgan Freeman 75. These niggas like wrinkly,
He's
like
81.
falling asleep
He's
and
not
shit.
71.
He's 81.
And he look better. He look
Joe
like,
Biden?
He's 81.
like
Who's 81?
Joe Biden.
I'm saying like this
81
nigga,
is crazy. When is his birthday? What's his number?
November.
November what?
He just turned 81.
So maybe you should run. Anyway,
So y'all
So,
gonna let the 80
advertising-
serve 4 years? What if he?
He 82 now.
Well, he's gonna be.
Advertising is has an impact
So
on.
y'all, like seriously, like if he gets elected in November, he's gonna be 82.
I'm saying I let Morgan
Like,
Freeman run.
y'all want an 86-year-old president?
I would
Like
be
that
cool.
don't sound kind of crazy.
I would be cool.
So that is ageism for some people and not others.
I feel
Trump
like
is 76, 77.
Who's
Trump.
76?
Trump.
Okay, bro. Like I feel like
No.
okay, respectfully, and I'm gonna say this like it's gonna sound crazy, but like I mean this in the nicest way possible. We gotta get like these boomers, everybody out the world. Like they gotta test
I
it.
said I was
No.
bugging.
Not the world, maybe out of
Yeah,
office.
office.
Out of
Like,
office,
I
yeah.
know
We
the
just
world
gotta
is
stop.
crazy.
We gotta stop. We gotta have like a 40-year-old president.
And so you see my point.
I was lying. I
If you-
really like that.
You see my point. People should run when they are younger. If you
They're not
don't,
getting elected when they're young.
But they
We
make
need
it
to
hard
just
for them to
take
do
the
that.
system down. Everybody just needs to stop voting,
We just need a
stop
Black Panther Party.
participating, everything.
there should go January
We just need a
6th.
Black
Let's
Panther
just-
Party.
We need to crash it.
So let's talk about what we can do. We can look at advertisements and see how they affect people. And you sort of begin to, this will probably help you to decide if you should run or not. Not necessarily this one lecture, but so sort of think about people who, and those kinds of advertisements. I know 70-year-olds who have, but we're not going to go there. So
Please go to 70-year-olds.
think about people who watch positive advertisements and whether they vote. I still think young people should vote in higher numbers.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Like if the advertisement isn't like, if it's like positive and it has no like jabs at opponents, do you think more people still watch?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, I wonder about, did anyone watch the past Virginia General Assembly elections last fall? So, for example, there was this one advertisement. I think he was eventually elected, name of Nedarius Clark. There was all kinds of negative stuff, like he beat his wife, he did this, he did that, and he didn't pay child support. And I'm like, now I want to research and see if he actually. But if you're not going to research and you heard the man beat his wife and doesn't pay child support, now it doesn't necessarily have to be true.
you a black dude, bro.
Yeah.
Why they do that?
Dang.
They
I
really do
didn't
that.
think I had to do the brother like that.
So now maybe he did not. Maybe he missed a
I'm saying, did he
payment.
really beat his wife? I'm gonna check that. What's his name? Darius?
Yes.
I think you can get
Clark.
I'm sure they can figure out that
That's
child
what I'm saying.
support.
Yeah.
So he is in some of these things you can actually see them on court dockets. Like if you do opposition research, you can find out what people have done and what people have not done. Now, in return, he was running against a former sheriff in, I think it's like of Yorktown, and this man apparently was at January 6th.
It's my birthday.
So
What you say about January 6th?
they ruined your birthday.
Yeah,
Oh
your birthday
yeah,
is-
I remember that. They did.
So
That was
so
such a-
Cool though. Like,
so he was saying that his opponent participated in the January 6th. Now, if you're a good citizen, you'll be like, I don't want to vote for someone who was at January 6th. Now, I don't know if he was there. And then, they say, so they will show Charlottesville and then January 6th, and you're like, this is a neo-Nazi. So sometimes advertisements can be, the question is, are they true or are they protected free speech? Now, that's different.
Did they even put out false information? Isn't that
Yeah.
like defamation of character?
It's not.
in the-
There's a thin line between defamation and political advertisement. Yeah. So if you're not a citizen who is very, and personally, I'd rather see positive advertisements and commercials, and I don't know, negativity isn't my whole thing. So did he pay his child support or not?
I hope that they're still together. So like, I don't know why he'd be getting child support unless he been having babies outside their marriage.
You said he had a white wife.
Nah, she black. That was
Um,
he was with a white girl in the picture. I thought it was her.
So yeah. So this is, I think, what we are mostly believing, that most voters are apathetic most of the time on most issues. It's like, what difference is it going to make to my now? The disconnect is that if you ask people what's important to them in this November election, they will say something like the economy, gas prices. They will talk about immigration. People, but again, if you ask people questions, they will give you an answer. And this is the thing about research and whether we should ask, when you conduct government using public policy, what kind of information are you getting? But if you actually think about modern campaign advertising, most of it is negative. It appeals to our worst fears. We construct threat. There's a very well regarded advertisement in the 1964 elections, 1964 presidential elections, where there's a nuclear explosion countdown. And everyone is like, and so there's this little girl who is like blacking off as the countdown goes. And then you have to go hide under a desk. You know the whole thing now you do of duck and cover it, or what do they call it? Active shooter training. Yeah, so in the 60s and 70s, it was, nuclear fallout, and you needed to know, if you had the sirens, you needed to know where to go and shelter. So there's this girl counting, and that ad was probably rated as one of the most effective, because what LBJ was saying is that it might have been Nixon or Goldwater, that he was going to bring nuclear war to the US. And so everyone is like, we cannot have nuclear war, so we do not need to elect. Sort of like, if you elect this person, he's going to throw old people off cliffs because he doesn't want to pay for Medicare or other things. So again, if you, portraying candidates as saviors. Did you see the advertisement for Trump? How God made Trump on no, like how the Bible goes, like on the seventh day God
We
made.
made Trump on the 7th.
No. He says on June, I think, whatever is his birthday, God made Trump, and so it's the savior. It's interesting. It's crazy, but it's interesting. So when you sort of think about those kinds of
Who do you think is gonna win?
Hmm?
Who do you think is gonna win the election?
Can you say that?